two of my favorite tools when doing quick and dirty cybersecurity research are Excel and a simple Linux terminal. In this case, I have a list of IP addresses in this Excel file. I have 380 of them, and I want to do some action in this Linux terminal. Let's say today I want to do a whois. You could do it individually by whois and just pasting in the IP address. Let's say I'm looking for the org abuse email. You could take the output of the whois, grep or fgrep for the string org abuse email, and you'll see the output there. But let's say I want to do it for all 380. Well, one way you can do that is to use the concatenate command. Concatenate, I will start with just an empty string. Concatenate takes multiple strings, mashes them together, combines the contents into one cell. So in this case, it's currently empty. I'm going to enter my command whois. I'm going to put a placeholder for an IP address. I'm going to take the output of that IP address and put it into a file named after that IP address. I'll add a semicolon at the end to terminate that command, and then because I don't want to overrun my any kind of throttles, I want to space this out over time. I'm going to sleep for 1 second at the end of that. So I want to do this for all 380, but I want to insert the IP addresses into each one. So I can insert a string. So I just did a couple quotes, a couple commas, and in between the two commas I put the IP address. So it's now inserted that one IP address. I'm going to do it right here where the other placeholder is. And now I have a completed formula that gives me the Linux command to run this action. Now, if I just double click on the bottom right of that cell, it copies it down the whole sheet, and I have 380 of these populated. I'm going to use my favorite text editor, whatever you want to use to create, in this case, script.sh. Going to create a simple shell script, paste the contents, all those lines, save it, and now I have a script file. In order to make it executable, I'm going to chmod 755 for script.sh. Now I have an executable script which I can time the execution of just like this. I'm going to go grab a quick drink while it runs, and we'll see just what we get when we're done. And we're back. You can see that the script ran for 7 minutes and 45 seconds, and now we have a directory full of individual files named after the IP addresses. So I want to pull this back into Excel. I am going to grep for, actually I'll go back up into my list here. I was grepping for org abuse email address, org abuse email like that, for star.star, all the files in this directory, and I want to, well, just output that directly into the terminal window. Sometimes if you have a large set, it makes sense to pipe that to a file, to direct that output to a file. In this case, I'm just going to copy and paste them in directly from the terminal because I'm working quick and it's not that big of a data set. So I've got it copied, go into Notepad++, my editor of choice, paste it in there, and when you grep a large number of files like this, grep appends the file name to the output. So in this case, I want to put this back into Excel. I'm going to replace the colons with tabs. Control H to open the replace function in Notepad++, and I am replacing colon with \T for tab using the extended search mode. If I do replace all, boom, now I have tab separated data, which I can then just directly copy and paste into a new worksheet in Excel. So I want to pull it back into the original. I'll go back into the IPs worksheet. I'm going to have a column for enrichment, and I'm going to pull it all back together using Excel's vlookup function. I'm going to vlookup the original IP address, comma, and then the next is for the table array. So A through C on the enrichment worksheet. I want to return the third field, the one with the email address, and I'm going to include the fourth argument as false so that we only pull exact matches. So that gives me one. Do the same trick to double click and pull it all down for the rest. And then just to be super neat, I will trim that. Trim that output. Copy it down. Put the header in, and then because I don't want any formulas, I'm just going to paste the unformatted values. No formulas anymore, and I can delete that column. Now I have full enrichment back in the original sheet with the data itself. When you're doing this in a Linux terminal, there's lots of applications, not just Whois. You might be using dig, host, curl, any number of utilities can make use of this simple scripting and taking the grep output and merging it back into Excel. So it's a great trick for getting a lot of work done quickly. I hope it's helpful.